isn't it?
It is, yes.
So Lucas, is it today's special episode? Or was that last week? It was last week, wasn't it? That was like
last week was our little retrospective special, and Karl did promise a more funny episode this time, but we're actually, we've decided we've got enough questions on like the docket that it's time to do
a QA episode. Because I said we'd drink, then I realised that we're together all weekend, and drinking will probably be happening over the weekend.
Yeah.
So I guess we can get that out of the way first. So the people listening on the day this is released, or the immediate few days afterwards, the Fact Fiend live event was supposed to take place on the 28th of August. Due to personal reasons, that's been pushed back now to the 20th of November. So there'll be an updated link with that below. And a benefit of it being pushed back is that the price has been lowered because our deposit went down. It's further in the future. Do you know when you book a train ticket further in advance?
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
So our deposit got reduced, and I've lowered the ticket price because of that. Because I wanted to pass the savings we made on to our fans, because it didn't feel right saving money on the deposit and still charging fans the same amount.
Yeah, that's fair. Like at the end of the day, like as we've mentioned before, that the price of the event is normally just like enough to make it happen. Like we're not
plus
really trying to like sit there and make it a bunch of money out of it or anything. Like that's not the point of those events. It's like it's not a profit thing. It's we get enough money back that this can just exist as an event where we're not making a massive loss.
Yes, and for people who are maybe thinking of travelling down on the 28th, or are in the vicinity of Sheffield, by way of an apology, myself, you, Nisha, and Brad are all going to be in Sheffield on the day in question from 5 p.m. in a local bar in Sheffield called Commune, which is round the corner from the original event, or where the original event was going to take place. So if there's anyone within the sound of my voice who is available from the 28th of August 2022, come say hi, grab a beer with us.
Oh yeah.
I'm just waiting now for no one to turn up so we can just like get real smashed. But then someone turns up at like 11 o'clock at night. It's like, you the Fact Fiend guys, and we're just like, hey.
Like at the end of the day, you guys all live in Sheffield, and I had already booked my train and stuff. So like,
that's one of the reasons.
It made sense to still do that, but then there was just like other stuff getting in the way of holding a proper big event. But we didn't want to, for anyone that's like booked a hotel or anything that they can't cancel, we didn't want to completely not be able to be there.
Yeah. So if you want to contact, so if you that describes you, if either you've got like something booked already or you're within the area, you want to come through for a beer, like contact either myself, or I guess other members of the channel, but it's probably better to do it to me via social media or the Discord links, which you can find below. So I just wanted to get like that out of the way first, because that's like the news. And the other piece of news is that the merch store has been updated.
Oh, cool!
With the classic Big Fact Energy design, as well as the Yu-Gi-Oh stickers of you guys, created by 10 Sheet Arts. So some new stickers and some new t-shirt styles in the merch store as well. Both of which I'm excited about, because I'm really happy that the Yu-Gi-Oh one came out as well as it did. And if those stickers sell well, I've been in contact with the artist who said that they will come up with some new designs based on other things about the channel. So maybe we'll get like a Who is Vampire Fiend card or something like that, or just a Harambe Revenger magic card or something like that.
Yeah, like,
but we'll see.
That would be cool. I haven't actually. I mentioned that I've got Ladies' Choice. I haven't actually looked for that card yet. I did like because
the special.
There's the special Fact Fiend card in there, but I haven't actually gone to look for it.
Yes, I've now got 2 copies of Ladies' Choice because John sent me that poster, which you can send me now, or you can show me. But I've seen it.
You've seen it, but I can at least show it off for like people that might not be aware. Then.
Yeah, so it's a special poster that I got delivered based on the promo video for it that we did.
Yes, so this lovely special poster. This is not a plug or anything. This is just I mentioned it a while back and that. But yeah, this is the game that we were sponsored to play. But this is not like an additional plug or anything. It's nice to be involved in cool stuff.
Yeah, and it's like a unique piece of artwork that's representative of our time.
Beauty is Karl being in bed with Richard Branson, just staring at a picture of Rashid, and I didn't realize. Like, it took me a second to realize that the quote at the bottom was like an actual quote from me with like the YouTube timestamp to where I said it in the stream.
Yeah, it's based on like the yarn we spun and the story we created based on
you just seeing like a drunk Lucas being like, "Oh, Karl's just Wolverine staring at a picture of like, what have I done?"
And they turn it into like a piece of artwork. So I guess if people are curious about that, you can check out the video. We're going to mention it like at some point in the near future. But I just wanted to mention those 2 bits of housekeeping first. And like I said, there's only two things I'm going to accept from like that thing happening on the 28th. It's either one person turns up,
right? Yeah,
or 20 people turn up.
mm-hmm.
That's the only two things I'll accept. If like 3 or 4 people turn up, that's one. But I want either one legendary hero who's like, fuck yeah, I'm getting pints for the Fact Fiend crew, or like 20 people start milling around outside. And like, wait, what?
And I will say as well, for anyone that's like, would have been coming alone and now feels a bit more awkward, like just coming to have a drink with us. Even if it is literally one person that shows up, like, we're not gonna, make you feel awkward or anything. You're not gonna be like, the proverbial like fifth wheel, or anything like that. We will endeavor to try and like talk to people and stuff like that. Just don't be worried and like don't show up or anything because of it.
If you want us to sign anything, we're happy to do that. And then I've got a bunch of my mates who are like, I'm going to turn up. It's like, fuck's sake. Because there was a mate of mine, like, he said, oh, you're free this week? I went, no, I'm actually quite busy because I'm doing like meetings with the crew. And he's like, oh, yeah, meetings. Like, no, seriously, I run a business, mate. I've got shit to fucking do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we enjoy our job. But we've got stuff to do. Speaking of which, what is it we're doing today? Mon frere.
Well, first, I just want to mention...
yes, more plugs.
No. Well, kind of, but not for any of our shit. Ah, fuck that.
What was this for?
I'm not going to be sensible. This is a plug for Destiny 2, people. Get back in it.
Play Destiny 2.
I just want to mention, because, like, goddamn, they showed off the Destiny 2 Lightfall preview and the new, like, season preview.
No, and the Fortnite thing, yeah.
Yesterday. And, like, the Epic Games crossovers, the Fortnite, and the one I'm more so excited about, the Fall Guys crossover.
Yeah.
Because the little beans have all got Destiny armor. It's like, yeah.
How fucking flaccid is that announcement coming right on the heels of the Goku announcement?
See, to me it's not, but like, yeah, when
one's
one
going
of
to
the
sign
biggest
into
Fortnite crossover in the world has happened, like, and the event is still happening.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, how about this Destiny event though? And it's like, for a smaller portion of people, that's like, oh, that's really cool, but
yeah,
I can also go play Destiny. Also, like, that's Fortnite the thing, isn't it? Armor in Destiny looks way cooler than the Destiny armor in Fortnite.
Mm-hmm. And it's also that thing of if you are a fan of Destiny, you're probably not going to be playing much Fortnite.
Well,
You'll
they
be playing
recreated a PvP map from Destiny, and you can play like the control game type in like Fortnite, which is really impressive.
It is,
at the same time, like Destiny 2 plays so much better that I could go play that map and that game mode in Destiny and have way more fun. But it's a really, really like cool, well done crossover, but it's just the shame with the timing of it, like being in the middle of the fucking Dragon Ball event.
I guess as well, like the hope for you is that people go, well, this Destiny thing looks fun. Let's go check it out. Oh, it's free to download. Let's give this a few goes.
And like, it's weird that they've given people a week, but right now, until like next Tuesday, every expansion is free to play. So like,
that's good. Like, I appreciate when games do that.
Just like, here's a week, go play through all the story as much as you can right now. Like, or even if it's just go play the most recent campaign, which was like a much better campaign than they've done.
Just some multiplayer. Go play some PvP.
But you can do that anyway. Whereas like the story expansions,
PvP is always free.
PvP is always free, but the story expansions are not normally. So like those campaigns you normally have to pay to play. I
was not aware of that. That's pretty good, because that's I'm as much as I do love video games, I'm really behind on video game news. So I don't really. I play like the 5 video games that I like playing, and I've recently as well found myself being really unable to have games that hold my attention.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Like when I booted up, I think like that Tom Clancy's Wildlands or something was put onto Game Pass, and I played for like 20 minutes and went to the first bit and went, I don't, and I just looked and it's a Ubisoft map, and I looked at the map with like a million different points of interest on it and went, I don't even care.
I literally did the same thing when Far Cry 5 came to Game Pass like a few weeks ago.
Just
like did like a mission or two and just look at it all, and it's like, go to these towers to unlock the icons to go to the million icons, and I'm like,
yeah,
I'm just gonna go play Destiny. I've got enough checklisting to do in Destiny as it is.
Because I just looked at it and went, I'm already like, I keep booting up games like that in the hopes that, because I adore that, that lizard brain part of my mind that's like, oh, make the number go up.
Yeah.
But as of yet, I'm still burned out on it. So I do check every now and again. So the same reason that every now and again I like boot up Skyrim or something and see like, am I ready to do another playthrough of Skyrim? No, I'm bored after an hour. Okay, Give it another couple
did
months.
The same thing again. I downloaded like the Second Life mod where it like starts you out, and I was like, cool, okay, so I'll be like a dark elf. I'll start myself out as like on this vampire quest where you wake up as like a newly like formed vampire, and downloaded like some mods to make the vampire skill tree more interesting and stuff. And then like I had one just glitch with one of the mods where like it removed my vampire perks for a minute, and then like it was trying to figure out how to get them back, and I can't be arsed, and just turned it off and didn't think about it again.
Yeah, I'll tell you what game though I did, because I was just earlier today because I'd finished all my work and it was like an hour before I had to call you. It's like, what am I going to do for an hour? I booted up Burnout.
Oh yeah.
And that's the thing. I booted up Burnout and went, normally I two screen it up. I think a lot of people two screen it these days.
Yes, yeah.
It's like, you know, you have like a podcast or a YouTube video or a Netflix show just in the background. And when Burnout came on, I was like, hang on, shut the laptop. Lean forward. Let's play some Burnout. Because those races are real good. Really
They
fun.
are. Burnout's still really good fun. And,
yeah.
Shout out to
Cult of the Lamb.
Cult of the Lamb has been holding my attention. Like,
I've seen that, yes.
It's been good fun. But Destiny, Karl.
Like, fucking, but that Destiny, though.
The reason I want to talk about Destiny is specifically because like they announced a new subclass.
Yes.
So like,
what's the new subclass thing?
In Destiny, like you've got your 3 classes. So you got your Warlock, Titan, and Hunter, which is like, you know, your Wizard, your Tank, and your Rogue.
Yes.
Or like your Mage, Tank and Rogue. Sorry. But like each of them have like the subclasses where you have the Solar element, the Arc element, the Void element, and the Stasis
the Ice
element.
one.
Yeah, the Ice one.
Yeah, Stasis or Ice. Yes. What's the new one then?
Released a new one. Well, they're releasing a new one next expansion in February called Strand.
What's Strand do?
Strand is kind of like the idea where it's like they say that, you know, there's kind of like these gravitational forces all around you, and they've learned how to like pull like the strings of these forces together.
Would that not be Void? Because Void powers are like dark gravity powers, right?
It's kind of gravity powers with Void, but yeah, like it's hard to explain. They do a much better job, but like basically it's like string powers, like dark string powers, and like you can like string your enemies up into the air to hold them in place and stuff.
Okay.
But the real exciting part is that subclass, no matter which class you pick, is getting a grappling hook.
Okay, so that's the best class in the game now.
Yeah. And I was like,
so Titanfall.
I'm not going to play any other class then.
That's the best class in the game.
So originally,
unless it's a bad grappling hook.
No, it looks
like a bad grappling
hook. It looks like a fun one. You can use it anywhere. It doesn't need to even hit anything because of the way the powers work. You can just grapple into air, just so like Spider-Man 2 on the PS2 it, and just like
or Monster Hunter with the wire bugs.
Yeah,
where
like
you just
the wire
shoot.
bugs. Yeah, just shoot straight into the air and grapple anything.
Like holy shit, that's actually sounds rad. I might pick up Destiny if that's the thing, because there is like so much space in my heart for Titanfall, but every time I boot up Titanfall, it's broken and it doesn't work.
Yeah,
and it's just I try, I'll play a couple games, and I'm like, I'm sorry, Titanfall. I'll come back and like Joe, I said with Sky, like a couple more months, try it again, still broken.
It will probably just stay that way, unfortunately. But
before anyone says it, I'm not fucking playing Apex. I don't care. The only thing that attracts me to Titanfall is the movement, the moment-to-moment gunplay, and the Titans. None of which are in Apex.
I mean, the movement is a bit, but like
it is a bit, but
not...
the moment-to-moment gameplay is much more.
It's like slow pace,
deliberate,
going around. Like, you know, there are tight, like fast gunplay moments, but a lot of that is, you know, spattered between moments of going around the map trying to find loot, etc., etc. And Apex is really fun, but like, yeah, it's not frenetic's a good way to put it. It's not as like just fast paced balls to the wall action as Titanfall 2 constantly is.
It's the difference of like, for me, it's the difference between Battlefield. I was going to say Battlefront and Battlefield. Saying Battlefield and Call of Duty. I know Battlefield is the better game.
Depending on which one you play.
Depending on which one, but
dodgy lately, yeah.
But Call of Duty, I can get into a game in 30 seconds and I'm shooting the gun within 30 seconds.
And you're constantly in combat.
Yep.
Like Battlefield, you can spend a minute running across a map to get to a spot you want to get shot. Wait the 20-second respawn or whatever. Spend another 90 seconds trying to run to a different spot, get immediately killed. It's like, again, I totally understand, like, Battlefield's great. I don't really play either of those games, but like
I
can understand that they're very different games and very different appeals, and that's similar to Apex and Titanfall. But
that's one of the things that always gets told. Like when I say, "Oh, I miss Titanfall, play Apex," I don't care. They're different games.
And I can respect that, because even at one point I was like, "Oh, I enjoy a bit of Apex. You want to like play some?" And you're like, "It's not for me." It's like, fair.
It's not my cup of tea, as I drink a cup of tea. But what's more, go on, tell me more about these strand powers. Can you Spider-Man it?
Sorry?
Is there like a Spider-Man moment, like, can you web shooter it?
That's the thing is, I presume there's going to be a cooldown on the grappling hook. They've only really shown you using it like once at a time. But again, you can like swing through the air in it. The coolest moment that got me very excited, though, is that one of the strikes has like trains running past, and they grappled onto the train, and we're like, whoa! And I'm like, oh man, does that mean like you can get your own Sparrow vehicle out and get like your teammate to grapple onto your Sparrow and shit? It's like,
and then like whip them right corners. Yeah. Like, that's the thing as well. When grappling hooks are momentum based and react to the physics of the world, as opposed to being, like you said, like the Spider-Man thing, or just not Spider-Man, the more recent ones, but ones like PS2 and stuff where you just go, duh.
And obviously, it's just a set movement. Spider-Man 2 on PS2 was momentum based, but a lot of them weren't back then.
Yeah.
A lot of them were just kind of like you know, just you'd go to a single point, random point in the air that you can't see, and then just go.
And you didn't so much have like, you'd web swing, but you just like one set motion through the air based on where you were. Whereas like, yeah, that's why Titanfall's so fun, because of like the whole thing of like, oh, if you get it right through a window and then you slide through the window and you crouch down and slide, and you jump out and then you crouch, jump through the window, land on the back of a Titan. It's so clean.
Like, yeah, the idea that it's one thing to be like, there's a grappling hook. Second of all, you can use it in midair, because you know it's Destiny, magical powers, whatever. Like, just whatever you need to do to write off the fact that you can't only hit walls. Like, it's cooler if you can just grapple through the air. And then the fact as well, like, oh, you can interact with like physics objects. Like, that's when it starts getting exciting. Of like, oh, can we attach it to vehicles? Like, fuck yes. And that's when I was like, oh no, I'm never playing a different type of class in Destiny anymore. Like, they literally said as well, it started out as a hunter-only ability, because hunters are like the agile rogues. And they were like, we can't do this. This is not going to be fair on any other, like, on... People are just abandoned Titan and Warlock. They'd be just hunters.
Yeah. It's like, they did that with Titanfall, though, where every single piece of pre-release material for Titanfall 2 showcased the grapple hook. Right. The point where I assumed it must just be a core part of the moveset, and it's not.
It's only specific to, like... because it's one of, like, your, like, you know, action moves, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can choose like to throw down a shield wall, turn invisible, run a little bit faster, or teleport. And I still get baffled when I see people picking like the turn invisible one in a game where you can just see everyone from a mile away.
Yeah. The one that I didn't mind, I think they have a similar thing in Titanfall, is like the decoy, like the Halo decoy. Don't they have something similar to that?
That one is really underutilized, which is why it's one of my favorites. Of like some levels where you can't really grapple hook quite well, the decoy is hilarious. Like, you throw a decoy through a door, someone goes up to try and gunbutt it, and then you gunbutt them, and it always works because no one else uses it.
Yeah, because that's
a really good counter pick ability.
That's what I like. Never used it very much, but I did like have a brief little thing in the back of my head. Like, I'm pretty sure I used that a little bit in Titanfall, and like people always fell for it because no one used it. Like,
yeah, it's not a popular ability, and therefore it actually is quite useful.
And you can do stuff as well where similar to Halo, where you don't just send them walking straight down a corridor. You like, you know, do something like make them walk off of an object, or like, you know, anything that might interact with something else that's not just going to send them walking into a wall. Because Halo, you'd always just send them into man cannons. Yeah. And people would be like, no, decoy is going to be using a man cannon, so they'd make sure like, that's definitely a player. I'm going to go for them.
Yeah, and it continues whatever action you were currently doing. So the best thing to do is to initiate a slide, activate your hologram. So you've like holograms like woo! Like a footballer celebrating. Then immediately stand up, and as people go to kill it, just kill them. It's great.
Yeah,
I might have to boot up Titanfall now. I might have to boot it up and play some.
But anyway, yes, we can get to some questions, and I guess like.
Yes.
Oh god.
Where do people send these questions, Lucas?
They can send questions to karlscornerQA@gmail.com. The link, or not the link, the email is also in the description of this podcast.
One of many links can be found below.
And I've got my,
Your
all
bearings.
the ones that I've starred in my box, but then I'm like, now people, please subject your emails properly.
Yeah,
because a lot of them are
penmanship
just
counts.
like either podcast question or no subject. I'm like, oh, this doesn't help me go through them very quickly, because I'm like, there was one talking about gaming. This one.
Yes, it's emails are quite different because I have to answer like 30, 40 emails a day. And there's nothing more frustrating than when I get like a no subject line business inquiry of like, I would like to make a business proposition, and I've got to email them back saying, what is it? And they give me like, and it's just like extracting blood from a stone, and they're like, give me the basic ideas. Okay, and how much do you want to pay for this, or what do you want us to do in this? And it's like, just pro tip, just send it all in one email.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, like if you send a big long worded email for a business proposition, but it's got all the information that I need in there, that's great.
Yeah, and like that's the thing is, for a question, all I need is for it to be a question, and like you can send feedback if it's important, but don't just send like, here's what I thought an answer to a question should be.
Oh, you suck ass.
We don't get those. We get nice people, fortunately.
Do it?
Yeah, generally we don't get bad feedback or anything. We get people with like constructive feedback, or normally a lot of them are just like, here's what I think, like someone just sending in their answer to a question they wanted to talk about. I'm like, okay, but yeah, if you could just like, put the base subject of what your question is so it's easy to find, that would be very nice, because the fucking Gmail thing, I can't even like open things in tabs to keep tabs on things and stuff.
Lucas has too many tabs confirmed. He's a tab warrior.
I'm not. That's why I'm getting overwhelmed by this situation. I'm like, I'm not a tab warrior, and now I'm like confused.
But, many tabs.
This one is from Scott.
Okay, Scar or Sky? Scott. Oh wow, I thought it was like a nickname. Scar, Sky, Scott.
I think
okay,
didn't
SCOTT.
Very well.
Scotty.
It says, hello, Karl and Lucas. Love the podcast and the content you create. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My question for you, is there any particular gaming pet peeves that stand out for you? For example, one thing that annoys them is playing an action game and you walk into a large circular area with no furniture and notable features, and then it's like, oh yeah, clearly like this is a combat circle, and it breaks the immersion very quickly. Thanks for the content you two create, Scott.
Well, one recently that frustrates me is the inability to both skip and pause cutscenes. Because I've been going through my backlog recently, and like the inability to pause a cutscene, or alternately when you press pause thing and you can pause a cutscene and it skips the cutscene, and then you have no option to go back and watch the cutscene again.
Yeah, when it's like you press the button, like you want to do the skip, either make it a hold to skip or make it a press pause to then press skip.
Yeah.
Don't like give people some warning that they're about to skip a fucking story moment.
Yeah, so I would appreciate that. That'd be quite useful. That's like a pet peeve of mine. Like I said, I played that like Tom Clancy's Wildlands earlier, and it's a cutscene. So I'm going to get a cup of tea because like I want to see what this cutscene says. So I hit pause, skip the cutscene, and just put me right into the mission. Like second one, I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah,
I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. Oh, shoot people. Okay.
One thing, since we've been talking about Destiny, one thing that Destiny did do to just fuck up gaming in general.
Destiny makes mistakes.
Yeah. Almost like I can. I mean, Destiny fans know that Destiny fans are the ones with the biggest criticisms about Destiny.
Are you saying that you can criticize something that you enjoy and still enjoy it?
No, I'm about to say that Destiny's the worst game ever and I hate it, Karl.
Okay.
That's what. That's clearly what I'm saying.
You have a nuanced opinion about subjects. This is an alien concept to me as a man on the internet.
Strange.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm being facetious. Yes. What was it Destiny does?
So Destiny ruined many menus because of the fucking cursor.
Oh yeah,
like slow moving Destiny cursor where
press
it's
to hold, press to hold
everything, and like
just let me scroll.
Let me just scroll or just like please give me an option at least. Yeah. It's like that was a PC like menu that got created for what at the time was a console exclusive game. Destiny 1 didn't have a PC version. But
I remember, trying to use that, and it's like it doesn't as well have a uniform speed because obviously it needs to have the fine movement. So if you initially it goes quite slow, and then it speeds up, and then you overshoot it, then you got to scroll back down, then it speeds up again and goes past the other thing. It's like, just let me scroll.
And then sometimes you'll get it where like there'll be a bit of lag in the menu, so then like
it goes too far forward.
It goes and like oh god, it's annoying. Very annoying.
That's the gaming equivalent of when Windows went from like Windows 8 to Windows 10, and they assumed that everyone had touchscreens. So no one's ever wondered why did Windows 10 become just like all squares? It went from like a nice, clean, clickable menu to everything is just big, obnoxious squares. It's because everyone internally at Microsoft used touchscreens, and Windows 10 was built with touchscreens in mind, and they didn't anticipate that the average consumer did not have a touchscreen, or if they did have a touchscreen, would not want to use it for all the time. It feels like that. It said that it was made for PCs, or with PCs in mind, or maybe it was like the dev kits, or when they were building it on PC, and they never thought, how does this work on a controller?
Yeah, it's just bizarre, and the fact that like we've never really had like an overhaul. We've had touch ups to the UI, we've never had an overhaul, and they showed off some of the new like menu systems they're putting in now, and they are clearly going away from that style, but they're also like they're burdened by the decision they made with that like 7 years ago.
Go back. You can just go back. Just let me scroll. It's so easy. Just
like so.
Give me a nice sound effect as well. A nice sound effect every time you press down the button.
Well, I mean, I think a great example of that is just like Final Fantasy menu noises.
Yeah, boop boop boop. Like, every time I miss it.
Final Fantasy like has iconic menu noise.
Yeah, and I hope they never get rid of it.
Same with Smash. I'm like Smash Bros. Just whenever you press something, there's like the and there's like the clash every time you select something. You might not even notice that there is, but like you'll go to like the Smash and you press A and it'll be like
Okay, and in Smash Bros, they do use that like cursor thing, but they've got a character select screen of like 64 things. If you had to individually manually scroll through them, that'd take all day.
I mean,
there's a time and a place for it, but you can go through its menus, just swishing between them.
Most menus in that game are just scroll between each option. They're not with a cursor, but when the time is needed where a cursor is more useful, then they move to the cursor.
And it's just all we're saying is just more games need to rip off Smash Bros.
I mean, in terms of menus, goddamn yeah.
Where have you seen Sakurai has started a YouTube channel
exactly
about that. He's going to be talking about game design. And I'm wondering how many actual game designers are going to be watching that. Like, oh, okay,
yeah, that's going to be so cool if they can do that right. Like, because
a wealth of insight. Yeah,
his like 40-minute demo on Banjo-Kazooie's design in Smash Bros. Like that shit is like enthralling. Like even when it's characters I don't care about, just the level of polish and detail and care that they clearly put in. And it's not just Sakurai, but like obviously he's a high up person and he keeps his fingers in many pies in terms of like directing that game. He's very hands on from the sounds of it.
And his leadership as well, of like while he doesn't do everything, his leadership is informs the level of care that his crew puts in.
Yeah, for sure.
And him being very hands on and caring about this stuff means that his team does as well. But yeah, that's one that pisses me off of like just bad menuing in general.
Yeah,
my inability, and as well not having full customization options for things like sound, like turn down the music, for example, when we're streaming, not being able to put subtitles on.
Like older games and just there's no subtitle options, there's no audio options. Like even I'm currently been streaming like Bayonetta on the Switch and Wind Waker HD on the Wii U, and they're games from the last decade, and neither of them have any audio options.
And Bayonetta as well is a game with music in it.
I think sorry, Bayonetta did, but it was like very poor. Like
no, it did have subtitles, did it? That was what we tried to find.
The subtitles were awful and stuff. Like but yeah, there's just so many like options now that we have with games where I'm like, thank God. Like just going to like I mentioned Cult of Lamb. I've also been streaming that, and like that has like subtitles, subtitle size, text size,
subtitle
screen
color,
shake, rumble. Do you want flashing lights on or off?
Yeah, like, there's never been a game that has been ruined by having too many options. Because that's the thing you can ignore if you've got too many options, but not having enough.
Yeah.
It's like video gaming equivalent of insurance of like no one's going to notice that you don't have it until you need it.
Yes, yeah. Well, we'll move on. Thank you for the question. And I think I'm pronouncing this name right. Kiri?
Okay.
Kiri, I think it is.
Just give me a clue about it's spelled. I'll give it a go, and I'll pronounce it way worse. See if you feel better.
Piary.
Kira, think.
No, it's with a Y.
Might be.
I don't know. Anyway, you can write back in and let us know how to
Yeah,
pronounce
let us
your name.
know.
I apologize. This question says, "Hello, Lucas and Karl.
Hello.
What are each of your thoughts on the concept of the personal brand? You've both mentioned it throughout the years. Have we done this one?
I think we've been asked this one.
Maybe I've just like gone too far down the list.
Maybe. Continue the question. Because we've been asked about the idea of the personal brand before, and we had like a 20-30 minute discussion on it, I believe. In the last QA episode, maybe?
Yeah, no, sorry. That was an old one, because that's Kiri.
We scrolled too far down.
I've scrolled too far down. I haven't deleted the old
scrolled.
Ones.
And did you scroll as well, like with a cursor, and it went, whoa! I suddenly went too far over.
So I went too far. There's a similar kind of question, though, that we can talk about here.
Okay.
So this is not personal brands. This is about our personalities.
Personalities, okay. I've got one of those.
I try. But this just says, "Hi, Fight Fiend team. One thing I've always wanted to ask is, how did you guys become so secure in your personalities? I've always admired this about you guys and wondered if you have any tips. Love the content and I hope you guys have a great day. Kind regards, Ben." And I think we get similar questions to this every now and then of like, kind of, we've been asked and answered before, like about like confidence. And I think like, this, I guess it's like different enough. Like confidence is a different thing than like being secure in yourself, I'd say.
Yeah, and a personality is
and they overlap, of course.
Yeah, there's overlap between them, but like a personality is distinct from having confidence, but you can't have confidence without having a distinct personality. And it's a difficult question to answer. Like, can you just tell me the wording again? I'm gonna try.
It's, how did you guys become so secure in your personalities?
Okay, so how became secure in my personality? More than anything, it's just I surrounded myself with people who shared elements of that personality, and over the years, it's like something I've only just started very recently doing. When I was taking steps to safeguard my mental health, is asking myself, when you're talking with like friends and people like acquaintances and stuff, do they build you up or do they tear you down? And there's a couple of people that I noticed in my life who, when I brought up elements of my personality, so, liking video games, things like that, they make fun of me for that. And it's like, why are they doing that? Why are they attacking a part of my personality just seemingly out of the blue?
Yeah.
Like, presumably because of an insecurity that they have. I don't need that energy in my life. I should probably either address that or cut that person out because I don't need it.
Yeah, for sure. I've had a similar thing over the past couple of years as well, of like, I'm my levels of like, confidence and anxiety and stuff, they waver from time to time. Like they'll go up and down. And I say, like, just kind of realizing like, oh well, I actually feel better about myself when I hang around with these friends than when I've been hanging around with these friends who make me feel more insecure, because like, as you say, they'll bring me down or make little sly comments about stuff, and I'm like,
yeah,
I don't want to be around those people anymore.
Yeah.
Or as you say, or have a conversation with those people and be like, look, like, behaving like this is making me feel uncomfortable. Can you please, make an attempt at least to stop?
Yeah. No, that's how it's a difficult thing to do. But that's how you become secure in your personality. Plus, as well, it all just comes down to what your personality is based on. And that's the link between confidence and having it, is like, are you confident in yourself to express that about yourself? So, something that I like, liking video games, it seems like, quite immature to some people. But to be able to express that. So I was, when I went on to America with a friend of mine, I had a lot of people comment on my tattoo and just like, straight, oh, it's all based on video games. And that friend is like, oh, he's such a nerd. I'm like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
And the other people did in response, they go, wow, that's really cool. What video game? I used to like those kind of games as a kid. And that's what it was.
And that's kind of like, I think that's like an answer to both being more secure in yourself and being more confident in yourself. It's just like, like really, even if you're not confident, like trying to be proactive about being proud of who you are and like being confident in who you are. Like, even if you're like, doing like the fake it to make it, like me and Karl have talked about in the past.
Oh yeah, fake it till you make it. Great advice.
Like, just yeah, I've noticed that over the years, a great way for people to like react better to who I am is to play it off like it's something to be proud of or something to not care about. Like,
Yeah.
I recently went to a wedding with like a lot of Jenna's family there and stuff, and like one person mentioned like, oh, why have you got like makeup on and like your nails polished and stuff? And I was like, oh, because that's just who I am. I enjoy it. And I went, all right, okay, yeah, that's cool. And like, yeah, like it went from like that. Ooh, I'm a bit wary of you because you don't like
You do
fit
something,
my
you're
kind
different.
of norms. Like, yeah,
you're different.
and it's one of those things of it. I deal with it a lot because of like my hair and nails and stuff. It's like it's stuff that's very easy to notice that like I get a lot of comments about. And the moment I started just being like, instead of the answer is like, oh yeah, I kind of like, yeah, I know it's a bit weird, but like, it's something I want to do. Is at the moment my response became just like, well, that's what I enjoy. Just deal with it or move away. Like,
yeah.
And you just like, normally the case will be that I feel more confident in myself because of responding that way. And normally they respond better rather than like seeing that I think it's like, weird or different or strange or like anything like that. They'll see that, I don't know, you just see it as like a normal, enjoyable thing to do. Okay, look, that's good. Let's move on.
Yeah. That's all it takes, but it's difficult to say because it's something I've done instinctually, and it's hard to describe the process of something that you do instinctually without thinking.
Yes, yeah.
And it's only been very recently that I've actually taken steps to actively, foster that part of my personality by addressing outside sources that would otherwise make me feel worse about myself. And that is something that required me, reading a lot up on mental health and how to approach conversations with people in a way that's more than superficial. Yeah. So that requires some active work on my part to do.
Yeah, for sure. And it is one of those things of like, it sounds weird being like, oh, look up things about mental health and stuff, but like, yeah, I definitely would agree with that. Be wary of where you look though, because Karl was recently on a fresh YouTube account and quickly got put into like a section of YouTube that was like, here's how to become a psychopath murderer, and they were framing it as like, here's how to become a confident man with like fucking what is it, Thomas Shelby on the thumbnail of like, oh, that psychopath who murders people all the time and hates his family. Right, yeah, okay. Great role model.
That's the problem there as well, where like asking someone about how do I be more myself is like a seemingly innocent question that can send you down a very dark and dangerous rabbit hole on the internet.
So be very wary. I will say that. Like, I would definitely like try to look up, things from people that might have degrees and shit like that, and
not Jordan Peterson.
I don't know who that is, but yes,
he's the guy who like talks to like Ben Shapiro and stuff. Like, he's the guy who tells people like to hate women.
Avoid Andrew Tate is what I'd say as well.
It's really easy now because he's banned off everything. So get fucked, Andrew Tate.
I haven't seen that.
I can't believe that guy literally made something called Hustlers University that charged you to click on it, and all it is a link to his Discord, and it tells you to share his clips on TikTok.
It's literally a lesson in how to get hustled.
Yeah, like you are paying him to do his advertising for him.
And guess what?
People
that's a lesson in hustling, Karl.
But that's the thing of like, there's nobody that's easy to manipulate than insecure men. And if that happens to describe you, think about like when people are telling you certain things, like what are they trying to get out of you? Because right now, all me and Lucas want is for more people to be themselves and feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
We don't want money from you. We don't want you to, change your outlook to be in line with ours. We don't want you to harass or hate minorities and women.
Yeah.
Come out of your shell and be proud of who you are.
100%. A very good way.
So I hate that we have to clarify that every time.
No,
we say like, oh yeah, look up. If you Google, I've tried it. Like I said, we had a potential idea for a fact theme video, which is going to be boot up a fresh copy of YouTube on like a fresh install of Chrome, and it is depressing. because all it is stuff aimed at like insecure men of like how to be a serial, basically just like an incel breeding ground.
Yeah.
Of like the pipeline to become a mass fucking shooter.
Mm-hmm. Bad. It's real bad. So yeah, we like to suggest that people, do some research, but be very careful.
Yeah, it's always that thing of like, just ask yourself when someone's giving you advice, like, would Bob Ross do this thing? Would Steve Irwin do this thing?
And
if the answer is no,
as well, is the character that they're putting in a thumbnail someone who's murdered people on screen? If they are, they're probably not a good video to follow.
Like. The thing is, though, serial killers are confident. Actually, no, they're not, because near enough all research has shown that serial killers are cripplingly insecure.
However, a lot of them are very good at like pretending to be confident. Like they are con men a lot of the time.
Confidence men.
Is it? It's Ted Bundy, isn't it? The one who was like apparently super like charming and stuff like that, and came across as just this like really nice, handsome, charming dude that you could totally trust. He like,
well, that's the thing. Is he wasn't even that handsome.
No, he wasn't. But like people said he was a very handsome man because of the way he carried himself and the way he talked. Like,
yeah, there's a great quote from, not great, but it's an interesting one from one of the people who's trying to track him down. Of like, one of the reasons it's so hard to catch Ted Bundy is he's so fucking normal looking. Every description is average guy, average build, average height, brown hair, brown eyes, somewhat put together, mid-30s, like mid-20s to 30. That's like every guy.
Because he groomed himself enough to look like like a safe guy to be with.
Yeah.
Because even now there's like people who don't trust men with beards and stuff like that, or men with like more unkempt hair and things. So apparently I'm just not trustworthy.
Neither am I.
But like,
I'm too tall.
Yeah, that's the thing is he just looked very normal. He didn't look overly noticeable. He didn't dress overly noticeably, and like
blended in.
That's the kind of thing where you'd be like, you'll see one of those fucking YouTube videos of like how to charm a woman, and it's just like Ted Bundy in the thumbnail, and you're like, fucking avoid that shit, okay?
To be fair though, he did. If you want to learn how to charm a woman, that is one way to do it. But I'd say the results are probably not going to be what you want.
There's plenty of other people that you could copy from that aren't serial killers, though.
You mean like Thomas Shelby from Peaky Blinders?
Who like, what was their thing? Like stabbing people in the eyes also? Oh no, like
they hid razor blades. Yeah, the Peaky Blinders were named. They hid razor blades in their hats, and then would hit them with the peak of their hats and blind people with them. And that's a male figure men online seem to base themselves on, or model their personality after, like Brad Pitt in Fight Club.
And again,
he's like a literal terrorist.
I think a lot of them are like, well, those two characters are like Patrick Bateman in American Psycho. Literally, it's in the word Psycho.
Americans, yeah.
But yeah, it's like, oh, but the actors are very like handsome, charming men. That like, oh, because Cillian Murphy is like this really like, nice looking man with the cheekbones of like that could literally blind someone. The cheekbones are the razor blades.
And his eyes, those powerful, soulful
he's got
blue
a
eyes.
very, very like iconic look. He's a very charming person, a very like striking man. And people look at that and go, "Oh, I want to be Thomas Shelby." It's like, no, you don't. You want to be Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, so go look at interviews with Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, it's like you're mistaking the actor for the character in those situations. Like Brad Pitt, you don't want to date Brad Pitt's fucking character in Fight Club.
Yeah, you don't want to date Tyler Durden. You want to date Brad Pitt.
Yeah, exactly. But people seem to make that mistake and be like, let's put like Thomas Shelby as like, this is the man you want to become. It's like, no, you want to become Cillian Murphy.
Like realistically, stuff all you need to do is get in. They could just do the same thing, get interviews with Cillian Murphy.
Yeah.
Just get interviews where he's an actor, so he's had like training in how to just command a room and announce his presence and enunciate clearly and stand tall.
Yeah,
that's one thing. Like that's another bit of advice people want, like confidence personalities, like take acting classes or stand-up classes or improv classes. Any of those. Join like an amateur drama society. Just anything that requires you to learn how to stand up straight, talk clearly to a crowd.
That was my kind of first step to become a more confident person. Is I was super shy as a child. Like, I was out of like quite a large extended family. I was like the quiet one.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I went to high school, I joined a youth theatre. And that's when I slowly started being able to like come out my shell, and it took me 10 years to do so overall. Like, but you know, even now I'm getting more confident in myself when I'm like 30 years old and stuff. Like, it's a never ending process. But
yeah, I talked about it with myself, didn't I? It's only very recently I've like started looking at self-help stuff to help improve my own ability to communicate with others and express myself.
Yeah, and like
it's a never-ending, ongoing process.
It definitely is, and I'm the same. Of like, especially since this job and working from home and stuff, like I've definitely made more of an attempt to like look into stuff like that, and it can be really helpful. But yeah, like definitely good start there is like maybe more that's more confident side, but like
a confident person has a personality that stands out.
Mm-hmm.
They go hand in hand.
They do go hand in hand, yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's definitely a good point to put out there of like something that can get you like talking in front of a crowd, something that can get you interacting with a lot of other people, and like improv, like acting and stuff like that. It's really helpful.
Yeah, well, it reminds me a little bit. There's a great thread on Reddit, which was like, ladies of Reddit, has a man ever done something to you that immediately made you fall in love with them, or be attracted to them? And it was a bunch of women telling stories about male friends they've had for years. And the one that sticks out in my mind is this girl's talking about. I'm probably like misremembering some details, but my recollection is she went into a guy's room. She said she'd known him a decade. She walked into his room and she noticed like some handcuffs on his bed. Like embarrassing. And like, in that moment, he could be embarrassed. And she was like, Joe, like, what are those? And he went, oh, I'm into like BDSM. Let me show you. And he just pulled out all of his stuff, and like the lady said the confidence he had in that moment had been completely unabashedly himself, and not hiding this part of his personality, being like, no, this is something that I'm into. I apologize, but do you want to see? Are you curious about learning more about it? And she said, in that moment, I would have like let him do anything to me.
Yeah.
Because just the sheer amount of confidence he had to just stand there and like be unabashedly, completely himself.
I've seen quite a few of those, like, I don't like the videos, but I like it gets into my brain of like, I want to know the answers that they say. But those ones of like, this person's a 10, but like, just interviewing random people on the street, and like every time it's like, oh, but like the man shows his emotions, the man like paints his nails, the man dyes his hair, and they're confident about it and stuff, and like every time the one's like, then they're a 10. They're a 10 because they're confident in themselves. And the guys are always like, what do you mean they're a 10? They paint their nails. Like, no, they're confident in their sexuality enough that they can paint their nails and not give a damn. That's 10.
Yeah.
And like, it's so funny seeing like some of those responses where the guys are like, I didn't expect that. And it's like, well, but I will shout out as well, just a funny thing of seeing an interview clip of like Hugh Grant in like his 60s being like, yeah, I've been into S&M for like 15 years now. As long as you're safe, it's great. And the interview was like, the fuck just happened? Like,
keep in mind, Hugh Grant was very famously arrested for just picking up prostitutes in London.
Oh, was he? Right. Okay.
Yeah. He's one of those actors who got caught for that in the early days. And there's like a picture that went around recently. It's an old photo, but it's like just someone's like just brought it up from the depths of the internet. Like, I hope that this girl who had the balls to walk up to Zac Efron and Vanessa Hudgens, ask for an autograph and a photo when they were in a sex shop buying dildos for Vanessa Hudgens' birthday, is doing all right. And it's just like all three of them are there, and you can clearly see the wall of dildos behind them all just smiling with a thumbs up. And you know what? That's confidence.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
So that's confidence.
I hope some of that answer.
I hope it's helpful, yeah.
But yeah, we'll end with that, the wall of dildos.
Why not?
So we got a question here from Connor. Greetings, Karl and Lucas. So this is like a two-part of a question. I'll edit it down a little bit just for brevity's sake, but
okay, truncate the question somewhat,
just a little bit.
Go for it.
So one and a half part question here. First part is inquiring whether you have a familiarity with Neil Gaiman's Sandman and if you've watched the adaptation.
Nope.
I've not either. I've heard people talking about it, but
it's on the list. Yeah. The list is ever growing.
Exactly.
There's more things added to it every day.
There's more One Piece, I think.
There is, yes.
The second and more pertinent part of the question that relates to, the quote-unquote like woke casting.
Okay. I've not seen anything about the casting, so I hope they explain it.
They do. Not for gender or racially modified characters, like Kirby Howell Baptista's death, who was amazing, or Jenna Coleman as Joanna rather than John. John Constantine. But more Mason Alexander Park as a non-binary individual playing Desire, who is kind of fluid and literally play if you want. All of that is just a roundabout way to ask the question: have you encountered similar like great casting choices that has been derided as like woke? And just that you say like, thank you for all your work, and I hope you're all finding like opportunities to relax and enjoy yourself. Thank you, Karl.
Yeah. I'm like a firm believer in, and this is one of those things where if you ask people who like use the term woke unironically when it comes to casting, well, I just want the best person for the job to get the role. And in a lot of these cases, that's what's happening.
Yes.
I think there was one a while ago where they had a BBC period piece about, I think, Henry VIII. And one of the ladies they cast to play Anne Boleyn or something like that was black. People complain like you're rewriting history. It's like, no, it's an alternate telling. It's the story. It's like she's just playing, like, a person from history. Like nothing about the character's like race matters to them. It's more about their standing and like how they looked.
Yeah.
And this lady was the best for it. And there's very few cases of. And I think the thing that always gets thrown around is like, could you cast like say like Black Panther as a white person? It's like for the most part, almost every white character ever written, them being white is incidental. Whereas usually, because the history of media has been so horribly and terribly skewed towards the white male perspective, near enough every character who does not fall into that definition was written specifically to be that race, ethnicity, creed, for story reasons.
Like that's the answer behind the like kind of question that so many people ask of like, well, why when a character isn't a white man, why is a woman's story got to be more entwined to the fact that she is a woman, or why is like someone who's a minority, why is like the fact that they are a minority important and always spoken about in the stories that are being told? And as you say, generally because most media doesn't represent them, so they want to insert more of like that representation within those stories that do get a chance to be told.
Yeah, and I can't think of any off the top of my head because like near enough every casting choice that's derided as woke, I just look at it and go, that's an inspired casting choice. As long as it's not Chris Pratt or Tom Holland, I'm happy.
The ones that get me is like the ones I can remember are being called woke recently. I haven't seen the performances yet to tell you whether like I could tell you the performance was great or not. So like,
okay,
for example, the Lord of Rings, like the Ring of Power.
Oh, they cast like some black. They cast black people in it.
Black people are in Middle Earth, or God of War Ragnarok, when there's like Loki's wife or something that ends up being like cast by is like cast as a black woman or a young black lady or something, and
it's like
again,
but that character is
complaining that someone's black, and it's like, but how do you know how they're performing in the role?
Again, and it gets even more baffling when it's like myth as well. It's the field of who gives a fuck. Like even from history, I don't care. I said that Anne Boleyn thing of like getting it might have been Anne Boleyn, but I just remember they got a black actress to play like a historical king or queen of England, and it's like, oh, they're rewriting history. It's like they're literally not. Like history still happened. This is just an actor playing that person.
Yeah.
And if you ask those people, like, no, I just want the best person for the role. I want it to be played accurate. It's like, well, it is. The person, like, how do you know what happened in history? Like, were you there? So, well, I definitely know they weren't black. It's like, but why does it matter that they are black?
It's like, if you can find the line in like the Lord of the Rings, or like is it the Silmarillion?
The Silmarillion or whatever, yeah.
The people will know if they're Lord of the Rings fans. I'm not, a massive Lord of the Rings person, but you can find me the like paragraph that describes how like not one black person has ever existed within the entirety of Middle Earth, then maybe we could have a conversation about that. But no, it's not. Like, I can almost guarantee without even looking at the books that there's nothing in there like that. It's just that,
and even when people do, it's like
fans have decided like, well, that's not how Lord of the Rings is. It's like, did you even read the book, or are you just a person that like watched the movie and went, like, oh well, I didn't see a black person in Peter Jackson's movies?
And it's also as well that thing of like it's an adaptation. Like if it's like, you have to adapt the source material exactly as it was written. It's like, okay, so we get to make one thing. If that's the case, then we should have made one movie of everything. We get one play. You know what? Macbeth, one play, and we've got to record it, and then we're never allowed to adapt Macbeth ever again.
Yep.
Now that's the thing about it's an adaptation of you can change things about it because otherwise you're just gonna be telling the exact same story with the same people and I think it's fun. It's fun to put in different perspective and put a different spin on it. And it's like letting a different artist cover a song. It's like I always get asked like the Weezer cover of Africa. It's like, oh, don't you like that? It's like no, because it sounds exactly like the Toto version. So why would I listen to it? It's like it's the same song, it just sounds worse. Why? Yeah. And then you go, but there's other versions like by Quiet Drive or like other like metal bands, and it sounds different. And you know what? I'm going to enjoy listening to that because it gives me a different experience.
There's so many, especially Queen songs. There's so many Queen songs that got covered, and they just literally sound exactly like the Queen song, but worse.
But worse because it's not Freddie Mercury. It's like, and I'm reminded it's casting choices. The show She-Ra and the Princesses of Power.
Oh yeah.
Which was very, very on the ball when it came to like these casting choices, and it has a very eclectic cast in regards to the casting choices, and a very inspired one. So, for example, one of the main characters in it, Glimmer, is played by Karen Fukuhara. So that's Kimiko from The Boys. Yes. Then you have a character. I'm going to just get their name here. We have Double Trouble, who in the series is a spy who does not identify by any gender because they can transform how they look. Do you know, like in The Boys, you have that character who can be anyone or anything.
Yeah,
and that is played
by like that. Double Trouble was reference to the fact that they were a spy, and I was like, the real bad name for a spy, Double Trouble, is like
well, they are a spy.
Giving it away.
Well, they're really good at it as well because they can transform, and that character is played by a non-binary actor, Jacob Tobiah.
Oh, cool.
And that's that thing of like, we need, and that's the thing of when it comes to a character that embodies like, this trope, like maybe someone who, is, has that experience would be better to play this character. But just like, there was a great quote from Noelle Stevenson, the showrunner, when they were asked like, what does this show represent the gay agenda?
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
And like they said, like there's almost no straight people working on this, and it's like why? It's like because when's the last time they had a show? Like every other show is like run by straight white guys. Let's make one with like everybody else.
That's the thing, isn't it? Of like no one ever gets asked why is your crew all straight white dudes that are pushing the straight white man agenda? Do they like? No one ever gets asked that.
Well, that's why you get Ruth Bader Ginsburg when she was asked. Like the only woman on the Supreme Court for like 30 fucking years. Like, how many women do you want on the Supreme Court? She went, all of them. She went, what? So I want everyone on the Supreme Court to be a woman. She went, don't you think that's a bit controversial? She went, it wasn't controversial when it was nothing but men for 50 years. Or there was a Playboy. Weirdly, like Playboy reading it for the articles. They did have some good articles.
That's the thing. I've never ever read a Playboy in my life because it's not kind of my thing that I would read anyway, but like B, not really over here as much as I don't think it's as popular in the UK as far as I'm aware. But like I've heard that it was really well written articles and like good, good reading.
Yeah, and many years ago, they published a story about a world where gay people were in charge and straight people were persecuted. And the amount of weird men who wrote in saying this is terrible, you have to take this story down. That's unacceptable to talk about that kind of mistreatment of people. And Hugh Hefner just responded in like an editorial of like, if you think it's wrong to treat straight people like that, think about how gay people feel. That's literally how they're treated right now. Fuck you.
Yeah.
And he says they never put two and two together. It's like, wait, what? But yeah, what a great cast. That show is amazing. And like just some people like Melissa Fumero's in it. Just like she's just randomly in the show for like one episode. It's like, fuck yeah, let's go. Amy Santiago from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Okay, yeah.
Then you've got like Grady Lyle, so if you like Raven from Teen Titans.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And Sandra Oh. And then my favourite where is Daniel Day Kim, fucking daddy, let's go. Fucking the Fire Lord Ozai. Fire Lord Ozai in the fucking house.
God. Yeah, that sounds like a fun cast.
Yeah, so I don't think we answered the question, but it's one of those things that I don't even pay those people any money. It's not worth.
I don't anyway, but like one thing I will say is like, there's not necessarily. I don't know if woke was really used as much like a few years back, but there's been a lot of comments about the fact that like Chris Judge was Kratos and like Kratos is white. And he's like, he wasn't.
Even though he's not.
But even, like, you know, he's Greek, he'd probably be at least a tanned man, like a heavily tanned man.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't be as white as, like, the ashes that are emblazoned on his skin make him look.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, like, I don't know anyone in their right minds could say that Chris Judge wasn't a fucking incredible choice regardless.
Yes,
regardless of
as well.
what, like, whether Kratos would be white or black underneath the ashes. I can't remember what his skin looked like. It was darker, I remember.
Yeah, he's very dark skinned. Also, the previous voice actor for Kratos was also black.
Yes, yeah. But
so like, every time people are like, oh, Kratos is voiced by a black guy, it's like, he was originally.
He's the original
voice actor was a black dude.
But yeah, like, it's incredible to, like, just think about how good Chris Judge is in that role. And I was recently watching, like, a snippet where they were talking about, like, you know, that moment in God of War, and, like, how much just, like, between Corey Barlog and Chris Judge, they just gave them so much, like, time and emptiness, where he's going to, like, you know, spoilers for God of War 2018, if anyone cares. I'll give you a second.
4 years later.
This is halfway through the story. It's like, it's a very, very iconic moment, but I wouldn't say it's, like, earth-shattering, considering I'm pretty sure it's, like, they've used spoilers for, like, you know, this in
Ragnarok
the
and stuff,
Ragnarok trailers and stuff. But yeah, Kratos goes and gets, like, his Blades of Chaos back, and then them just showing it and talking about, like, getting Athena back in and getting the voice actress, and, like, telling Chris Judge about, like, the journey that he had, and just, like, the amount of just quiet emptiness in that scene of, like, traveling back to the house. Kratos knows exactly what he's gonna do, and, like, then that moment of just, like, Athena being like, oh yeah, you're a monster. He just, like, walks through, like, yeah, but I'm not your monster anymore.
Yeah.
Just like, oh dear God, like, if anyone hasn't played the game, at least just go look up that, like, moment, 10-minute sequence of, like, it's so well done.
Yeah, and the direction was like,
it's so fucking.
He did, and that was one that's baffled me, because I remember we talked about it, didn't we, where people complain of, like, there's a little black girl in the trailer for Ragnarok. It's like, you know, Kratos is black, right? It's like, what? It's like, yeah, he's only white because the ashes on his skin. He's dark skinned underneath and has been voiced by a black guy for the entirety of his time on screen. And that's why I don't think the argument's even worth having, because the people who would accuse a character or a casting choice of being woke don't even care. That's the thing, they don't care, and they're too stupid to realise that, like, you know, how poor their grasp of the media literacy is. It's like, all I want is more actors from more backgrounds to get more play, so we get a more varied, you know, landscape for cinema and media, because there's nothing, I call it the Marvelization, and previously it was the Game of Thronesization of just, like, remember when Game of Thrones was hot shit, and then all the blockbusters, like, for the next 3 years had Kit Harington, the lass who played Sansa Stark, and
Sophie Turner,
all that, Sophie Turner in him.
Maisie
Every
Williams,
single one. Maisie Williams, yeah.
Less, but, you know, still a couple, and then Emilia Clarke as well.
Yeah, and then you had, like, Marvel movies, and now every other blockbuster just has a Marvel movie actor in it. And because
no,
Marvel,
it doesn't have a Marvel actor in it. It has Chris Pratt in it, Karl.
Yeah, it has Chris Pratt in it, or it has Chris Hemsworth or Tom Holland.
Yeah, like, that thing is Tom Holland and Chris Hemsworth are getting, like, a couple of roles, but, like, everything Chris Pratt. Mario is Chris Pratt. When Mario is an animated movie of Mario, and they've still got, like, the man who's been voicing Mario for 30 years on like, on the movie.
Yeah, he's in the movie.
Not even just, like, on payroll at Nintendo. He's still in the movie. And it's like, no, but we need the big names attached to it to make sure
we do.
Like, that's the way that DreamWorks works. That's the way that Illumination works. Like,
yeah,
I think Illumination and DreamWorks.
This Illumination is working on it. Yeah, the people at the Minions movie, and that's why it's so. Like,
yeah,
it's why I don't care. If, it's woke. It's like, but we're going to get more actors. We're going to get more experience. We're going to get better movies being told. So it's not going to be the same fucking story. The same 10 actors in it.
And that's
surely you want
we
that.
Can also, you know, give Marvel some props for also doing that at the same time.
More,
like,
yeah. Now putting, like,
they are
also
bringing a lot of, like, diverse people, and, like, you know, say for example, like, having Black Panther and Shang-Chi, not just, like, having like, Asian or black roles in there. It's like they're also making sure a lot of the cast and crew on you know, are from those cultures as well and stuff. And it's like they're making it a good move, but, like, again, we've spoke about this a lot. It's taken that like, you know,
10 years.
15 years of like putting white people at the front and putting like, you know, it started out like Edward Norton and Robert Downey Jr. as being like the main roles and stuff. Yeah.
But it's, I'm looking forward to just seeing a more varied and eclectic range of actors, actresses, and just like, you know, voices in media. It can only be a good thing to have more people's stories being told, because it just means that I get a variety of content that I'm never going to like, you know, consume, because there's just too much.
You know what I will consume though, when they give me like a Miles Morales story that isn't animated. Like, trust that your character is cool and liked enough that he could get in the MCU.
Yep.
I wonder as well, like, in terms of rights to Spider-Man, if that would be a way to get around it. I don't know if they have the rights to the Spider-Man universe, or they have the rights to Peter Parker's Spider-Man.
Sony owns that shit outright, yeah.
Yeah.
Sony's never letting that go.
Like, well, I couldn't remember. I'm not well informed in their contract enough to know whether, like, Miles Morales is a different character than Spider-Man, therefore, like, they'd be able to use him freely. Or I assume with, like, the fact that they've got to get consent for even using, like, Spider-Man villains and stuff, that
it's never happening.
Blanket everything Spider-Man related.
They only are,
you know, initially from a Spider-Man comic kind of thing.
Yeah, but we've talked about that before, like, to death, and it's the same thing with like the topic of woke casting or whatever. It's like, it's not even worth it. Like, if anything, I'm more excited. It's like, wow, I want, like, do you know the joke they always make if they're going to cast, like, you know, a black lesbian to play like Abraham Lincoln or something like that? It's like, I want to see that movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
That's me. I want to see that movie. Do you know why? Because it'd be different. It'd be interesting. I want to see like what energy shifts 100%. When you have that casting choice.
And yeah, I'm all just down for more diverse and more different stories. And as you say, like, generally speaking, anyone that's using the term woke either hasn't been using it long enough to know what people mean by that, or generally speaking, they just don't want to have a conversation. They're trying to shut people up.
That's the one, yeah. They're not using it to start a conversation. They're using it to shut conversation down. And they know that they can call something that and then just dismiss it and not talk about it. But then every time other people try and talk about it, they like insert themselves into it to try and shut the conversation down. And it's just, and they're very tiring.
They are, but like, we've got another question here in regards to, like, you know, stupid terms and phrases.
Okay.
You know, woke being one of them.
Okay.
This is from Chris. Just say, evening lads, with all
Chris
talk
Pratt.
About quiet quitting, nothing about over the recent weeks. I saw someone on Reddit comment that it should be termed acting your wage instead. Are there any other phrases you think could do with like a similar overhaul to the shift? The shift the clear and obvious, like, you know, recruitment management nonsense, but doesn't have to be work related. Just generally anything like that you can think of. Just, is there any kind of phrases that you think could be like reworded to show the bullshit behind them, essentially,
to more accurately reflect what the term? Well, the classic one is political correctness. Change political correctness to treating people with respect.
Yeah,
and there's an amazing series of images you can find out there when that was like a Chrome plugin, and it was just like articles, headlines with like, you know, political correctness replaced by treating people with respect. And it's like, is acknowledging people's pronouns, treating people with respect gone crazy, and stuff like that. And then the word woke should again just be treating people with respect, or giving, you know, minorities a chance to engage with the media in which they consume.
I think I think the thing that like maybe embodies woke a lot is like challenging norm.
Yeah,
it's like, it's not that it's like, you know, woke and it's all about like making sure that the white men get pushed down. It's like, no, it's challenging norms of like, we just don't want to see the same shit, and we don't want to see the world in the same way.
That's a good one, yeah. So like, an example headline that I saw was it was about remember this one about the woke T-Rex, where they showed the T-Rex as being based on new evidence, a caring parent, and it's like, oh, this new T-Rex is woke. Like, is the new T-Rex woke? It's like, oh, is the new T-Rex as portrayed by the BBC challenging norms? That works. Or the casting choice, like there was a black lady in the new Jurassic Park movie, and it's like, oh, this casting choice is woke. It's like, is the casting of this black actress in Jurassic Park challenging norms? That works. That's a strong one.
So I don't know if that's a good catch-all, but for what I could think of in my head just then, like
those, like, you know, those headlines and those takes from those guys of like Joe, and that's the thing as well, because most people in response to seeing, like, you know, oh, a black person's in a movie or a gay person's voicing a character is like they'll just respond woke. Yeah. And that's it. And that's their entire criticism. So they'd be quite good of like, oh, this movie has cast, you know, I don't know, like a deaf actress, for example, in this role. Woke. It's like challenging norms. That's exactly what they're doing. That's great feedback. That's a good one. I like that. Off the cuff as well.
Thank you. Yeah. Like, that wasn't me sitting there knowing the questions in advance. Like, that was just having those two questions linked, just like put that in my head then.
So it is casting.
Because that's the crux of this question, isn't it? Of like,
yes,
what are phrases that exist to try and, like, as you said, either shut down to conversation or like to try and like, turn the point back around on the original person, like,
yeah,
and you know,
caring about other people is bad. Okay,
the whole quiet quitting thing is like, well, they throw the word quitting in as if it's a bad thing, like make it like sound like a negative term immediately, and it's like, no, what you're saying is like having acceptable boundaries and doing what you're told. As like, again, if you go above and beyond, you should like be getting paid overtime or bonuses or
acknowledged in some way.
Acknowledged, or, you know, extra incentives or whatever it be. But like, I'm not saying there's not a place for overtime or you know, working harder or longer for a certain period of time to, like, you know, get projects out the door. I know as a creative person that we do it all the time. Of like putting extra time and effort into something. To try and like hit deadlines and stuff. I'm not saying that like brief periods of like trying to crunch to get something done or something is not in any shape or form unacceptable. But when it's like,
you're not gonna live in. We don't live in a perfect world, but that us not living in a perfect world doesn't mean we shouldn't try to improve it.
A lot of the time as well, especially when it comes to like our work, is a lot of the time we're putting that extra time and effort into like create something better for ourselves. Like, it's a personal choice. Like, oh, I could file this video, but like, I remember one that had me up until like 5 o'clock in the morning because of copyright issues. Was that like just that simple like 8-minute video of like why you should watch One Piece? But every time I'd edit, export, re-upload, get the processing done, get the checks done, a new clip that wasn't flagged previously would come up as flagged.
Yeah,
and the video was completely blocked because it's like Funimation.
Yeah, and there's reasons to do.
So yeah, like, I wanted to make sure like I was using fun clips in that video, but that was personal choice. Like, I could have just been like, well, I'm removing these clips and just putting out like something with an image in the background instead.
And it's there. But that's a good one, like the quiet quitting of just acceptable boundaries. And maybe someone who's listening to this who's got like the technical know-how can create like a Chrome plugin that changes the word woke to challenging norms. Because I would love to like scroll through the comments of YouTube with that plugin in.
Well, last thing, isn't it? If you could do like get like an article, we could test it out of like.
Well, do you know what? I'm gonna open up an incognito tab for this though.
Yes,
because I don't want this. Like, so let's have a look.
So find like an article
woke,
and then you could do like woke. A Control F for woke and replace.
And we're going to go for news. So here we go. So I've got some news headlines here. We have one here. Ron DeSantis declares war on woke. So Ron DeSantis declares war on challenging norms. Florida Stop Woke Act blocked in court. So Florida's Stop Challenging Norms Act blocked in court. Woke students will always find something to whinge about. So we'd have to worry about that. But like, students who challenge norms will always find something to whinge about.
Proud of that one. That works quite well for me.
Yeah. Election watchdogs turned a blind eye to voter fraud for fear of offending people who want to challenging norm sensibilities. It doesn't work for everything, but for the most part.
Exactly. Like, it's always going to be hard to find something that works for like a catch-all to just. You know,
Saints Row 20. We have Forbes here. Saints Row 2022 review. Ain't woke needs fixing. Ain't challenging norms needs fixing.
And to be fair, like, I think they're saying like that game isn't like woke in the way that people were initially responding of like, oh well, there's people that aren't like white dudes that are gangsters. That you know, like the Saints were like. The Saints were pretty much just like a bunch of regular looking dudes, and like
the Saints were always diverse. Those games, I never understood that.
Yeah.
The first game, Johnny Gat is Asian. Your leader is black. All of like the people in your crew are black. And then in the second game, you can choose to play as a trans character, and every single person in that universe never comments on it.
Oh,
they
right,
all
okay.
have the that's the thing. From the first game, you can only be a man. In the second game, even though it's canonically the same character, still the boss, you can choose to play as a man or a woman. And if you choose to play as a woman, the only thing anyone ever says is, "Oh, nice haircut." And that's the joke. The joke is that no one gives a shit. And in the third game, you can be anything.
Like, you could deal with that better, but the fact that they just accept it and move on is like, yeah.
And that's the thing as well of all the people complaining about. It's like Saints Row was always this. Like literally, the second game in the series allows you to play as a trans character, and no one comments on it. Which means that the people complaining about it didn't play the game.
Oh. Mess around with that there, but I was gonna.
Maybe I have on it.
I'll,
Lucas, how the police became the foot soldiers of woke. So how the police became the foot soldiers of challenging norms. And it's just about like there was a video going around the police dancing the Macarena. Christianity told to bow to challenging norms.
Oh no.
NHS blows £1 million on challenging norms groups for staff.
So yeah, I was just gonna say, try and get some questions for the post show, but I can't. The way that I've not popped.
You can't find
my
any.
Discord. No, because I can't pop out my Discord, or didn't earlier. I now can't mess around with Discord on my PC, so I'm gonna look on my phone. But I guess like we can leave the Q&A portion of like this and move on to the Q&A episode can finish so that we can go into a post show of Q&A.
That's fair enough. Yeah, that was a good question. I like that, Luke. You've come up with a really strong one. That challenging norms.
And as we say, it's never perfect, but I'm proud of that.
No, it's really good. And that's the thing as well. Just having that in your mind when you're looking at these headlines of it's woke to do this. It's like it's challenging norms. Yeah, you're right. It is.
It's challenging norms. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, it's casting a black person in a role.
That comment of like acting your wage. Like, I do like that for quiet quitting. It's like
it's a good one. Yeah,
it's again that thing of like turning what like the whole quiet quitting is like turning just doing your job into like a negative,
using it as a pejorative, yeah, which is what woke is. It's like turn or SJW back in the day of like you're a social justice warrior. It's like how is it a bad thing to care about other?
Like that's the fact that social justice is in that term and you're using it in a, as you say, as a pejorative, like a negative.
These are the same people who like coined the term anti-Antifa. So anti-fascist. It's like, what? Like, so critical thinking is not a skill they have.
The double negative there. You just cancelled out. So what's Antifa stand for? Fascism.
Yeah, well, they don't know what Antifa stands for.
No, exactly.
The context is completely divorced from its meaning now.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you, everyone. And Karl, do you have anything to plug?
Just the event again. Check out the events page, the merch page, and if people happen to be around on the 28th of August, let us know. We'll be having a few pints.
Yeah, just a few days away from now, and we'll be in Sheffield, as you say, and
yes.
Maybe check out our Discord in the link where we can give us details there rather than leaving the details in the description of a podcast.
Yeah, because then people will be months later, when's this?
Yeah.
But either way, cheers everybody.
Thank you very much.